Hi there everyone, today I'm sharing a dreamy watercolor card featuring Altenew's Mini Delight Blooming Lantana. If you love puzzles and floral layering, you are going to enjoy this one. Let's dive in. I'm using the brilliant Mini Delight Blooming Lantana, which has a placement guide for the flowers. Isn't it fun? I thought it was super cool, and for those who usually don't follow the rules, you can add the flowers wherever you want and as many as you want. I have cut out a 3-inch wide panel of watercolor cardstock. This is cold pressed, which means it is more textured and it will be able to take in a lot of water. I will use the Ultraviolet and Purple Wine watercolor brush markers to color the flowers. But first, I will generously apply water to the panel using the flat brush from the Artist's Round Watercolor Brushes set. Next, I will squeeze some of the ultraviolet pigment out on the watercolor palette and apply it to the panel. This will be slightly diluted as I already have water in my brush. Now you can either use the watercolor brush markers as I'm doing here or the small bottles, the refills, your choice. Once the entire panel has color on it, I will start adding splotches of color or just randomly adding darker pigment to the panel. At this time, I will bring in purple wine pigment as well and apply it similarly. I will also add it as splatters to get more texture. The flowers are too small, so you won't be able to see all this detail, but the variation across them will be visible and make a huge difference once you put the arrangement together. The idea is to end up with random concentrations of both colors on the panel. Once I'm happy with the result, I will dry the panel. If you want, you can add more splatters once the panel is completely dry. They'll be super visible and add to the texture. But I will leave this as is and add more color later if needed. Make sure you place all the die cuts where they belong. Your tweezers and perfect picker will come in really handy. Once I had die cut flowers for 2 flowers, I cut a panel of watercolor cardstock to the size of my card front, which is A2. Then I used the stamp packaging to gauge the stamp's placement. Next, I applied water to the panel and started adding very diluted ultraviolet pigment, creating a dripping watercolor effect. If you have been following me for a while, you know I love my dripping watercolor backgrounds. They provide a base for the floral arrangement while remaining subtle enough to leave plenty of white space and not overpower the design. I will also add hints of purple wine to this. And to add subtle texture, I will first dry the panel, then add splatters of the same diluted watercolor. Next, I will stamp the image where I initially planned to, off the edge on either side, using Obsidian Pigment Ink. Now comes the fun part. Either put the puzzle pieces together, or if you aren't a fan of layering, die cut more flowers than you need and cover the whole thing with a lot of floral layers. If you are doing this properly, start from the beginning and glue the first flower to the letter A. We have to adhere the floral die cuts alphabetically. I stopped when I was done adhering the bigger flowers because I wanted to adhere the smaller ones with foam tape. At this time, I decided to color the flower centers darker, otherwise they will be lost in the mix. Next, I added the second layer to the flower center and moved on to the smaller flowers, which I adhered similarly but used foam tape as I mentioned before. The placement was a little off since I couldn't see where I was placing them, but it's okay. I lost a bit of footage. I adhered the die cuts to the second flower similarly, then added pigment to the leaves using monochrome shading pencils. What you missed here is that I only applied a very light outline along the midrib and veins of the leaves. And now I'm using a blending stump to softly blend the graphite. Once I shaded the other leaves, I added black gouache splatters and stamped the sentiment. Later on, before taking the photo, I also added a very diluted white metallic watercolor to the topmost layer of the flower center for a bit of shimmer and shine. Don't be afraid to try this set if you are scared of putting tiny layers together. As I said, you don't have to follow this guide to the T. I hope this inspires you to play with your watercolors and try the Blooming Lantana set. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your version of the Blooming Lantana. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Wait, we have more where that came from. If you're after fabulous card making tutorials, you are definitely in the right spot. Our amazing design team create and upload fabulous video tutorials right to this YouTube channel. If you don't want to miss another amazing crafting tutorial, don't forget to subscribe and click that fun red button that you can see. Let's become paper crafting experts together.